All right, let's dive in. Today we're exploring the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, he's fascinating.
Yeah, he's a neuroscientist, but,
Kind of out there.
well, he blends science with, I guess you could say, mind over matter.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
He really digs into how our thoughts and emotions can actually shape the reality we experience. Get ready, because this is some mind-blowing stuff.
For sure. And he starts right off explaining how actually learning something new changes the physical structure of your brain. Like it creates new connections between neurons.
I've heard about that. So, like, if I learn a new fact today, that can actually double the number of connections in my brain.
That's exactly what he says.
Wow. It's incredible to think about.
He actually gives this an amazing example.
Oh, tell me.
Imagine you learned just one new fact, something you didn't know before.
Okay, yeah.
That single thing can double the number of connections in your brain. He says it goes from 1,300 to 2,600.
No way. Just from one little fact.
It really shows the power of learning. And he emphasizes that it's not just about passively absorbing information. To make those neural pathways really stick, to integrate that knowledge.
You have to use it or lose it.
Exactly. You need to actively engage with it. Like try teaching it to somebody else.
Oh, interesting.
Or even just explaining it to yourself out loud. That's how it becomes a part of you.
So it's about more than just knowing something in your head.
Right.
It's about really experiencing it with, like, your whole being.
Yeah, and he lays out this framework: knowledge, experience, and wisdom. Knowledge comes from the mind, experience that lives in the body.
Makes sense.
And wisdom, he says, emerges from the soul. It's like a journey we're on, you know.
Yeah, it's like leveling up in a video game, almost. From novice to expert.
He actually compares it to going from a philosopher to an initiate to a master.
Oh, I like that. That's
It makes it relatable, you know,
Yeah.
like we're all on this path.
Totally. So to become a master, what do we got to do? Just read a ton of books.
Well, he talks a lot about repetition. Every time we repeat an experience, those connections in our brains, they get stronger. He calls it neurochemically conditioning our minds and bodies.
So practice makes perfect, right?
You know the phrase, neurons that fire together wire together?
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's basically saying that the thoughts and actions you repeat day after day, that's literally shaping your brain
Yeah.
and ultimately your entire life.
That makes you think twice about those mindless habits, huh? Like scrolling on your phone for hours or hitting that snooze button every morning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dispenza points out that something like 90% of our thoughts each day are the same ones we had yesterday. We're basically running on autopilot, just replaying those old mental tapes over and over.
Wow, 90%. That's crazy.
No wonder it can be so hard to break out of those old patterns and create lasting change.
Right, because if we're basically just repeating the same thoughts and behaviors...
You're stuck in the past. It's like your past is dictating your future.
He has this really powerful phrase, your personality creates your personal reality. It's like a wake-up call. We're not just passive bystanders in our own lives. We're actively creating it, moment by moment. So then, the question is, if we want to change our reality, how do we do it?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Dispenza throws down a challenge. To change your life, you have to become greater than your body, greater than the emotions that keep you tethered to the past. You have to break free from those limitations.
So how do we do that? Where do we even begin?
Well, get this. Dispenza says that research suggests as much as 50% of our memories might be fabricated.
Wait, seriously? Half of our memories could be made up.
So we're not just reliving the past. We might be reliving a past that isn't even real.
That is seriously mind-blowing. Like, what is even real at that point?
It makes you question everything, really.
Totally. So if our memories are unreliable and we're basically on autopilot most of the time, how do we break free from that cycle?
Well, even something as mundane as your morning routine, like brushing your teeth, making coffee, those things are reinforcing those ingrained neural pathways. Like you're literally strengthening those connections every time you repeat them.
So even if it's something I'm doing unconsciously, it's still having a real impact on my brain.
Absolutely. He paints this hilarious picture of a typical day on autopilot. You know, stumbling to the toilet, grabbing the same cereal every morning. It's funny because it's so relatable.
Oh, I know. I'm totally guilty of that. Cereal every morning.
And it highlights this link to the concept of karma, right? Repeating the same actions and getting the same results. It's like we're trapped in the loop.
Okay, so if we're basically just a bunch of automatic programs running on repeat, how do we break free? Is there even hope?
Well, Dispenza says that by age 35, a whopping 95% of who we are is just these subconscious programs.
95%. So we're basically robots,
Yeah.
just running on pre-programmed code.
That's the challenge, right? Can we use that remaining 5% of conscious awareness to override those deeply ingrained patterns?
It feels like an uphill battle, like trying to move a mountain with your bare hands.
Well, Dispenza thinks we can. He offers some really powerful tools to help us do just that.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. What are these tools?
He talks about the impact of our environment, for one thing.
Our environment, like our physical surroundings.
Yeah, our surroundings constantly trigger specific neural networks in our brains, which keeps us locked into those predictable ways of thinking and behaving. It's like our environment is shaping us.
That's kind of a scary thought, like we're at the mercy of our surroundings.
He actually takes his earlier phrase and flips it around. He says, it's no longer that your personality is creating your personal reality. Now your personal reality is creating your personality.
Whoa, that's deep. So our environment is literally programming us.
It's a powerful reminder to be mindful of the influences around us. But it's not all doom and gloom. Dispenza offers a solution, a clear vision of the future. He thinks having that strong vision can help you break free from the grip of the past.
Oh, interesting. So instead of being defined by what's behind me, I can focus on what's ahead of me.
Exactly. And it's not just about picturing that future, but really feeling it, experiencing the emotions that come with it.
Okay, so it's not just a mental exercise, it's about engaging my emotions as well.
Dispenza believes that by cultivating those elevated emotions, you're sending powerful signals to your body and influencing something called the quantum field.
Wait, the quantum field, I've heard that term before, but I'm not sure I really understand it.
Yeah, it's one of those physics concepts. Basically, it's this field of pure potential, infinite possibilities that exists beyond what we can perceive with our senses.
Okay, so like this invisible energy field that connects everything.
Yeah, exactly. Dispenza thinks we can tap into this field with our thoughts and emotions. It's like we're constantly interacting with it, drawing from it, and contributing to it with our energy.
So when I'm feeling those positive emotions about my future, I'm actually sending a signal to this quantum field. And that helps me manifest those desires.
That's the idea. And he emphasizes the importance of daily practice. He suggests regularly reviewing your goals, your desired behaviors, and the thoughts and emotions you want to release. Really rewiring your brain, aligning yourself with that future you want to create.
Okay, so it's like training my mind and body to be ready for that new reality.
It's powerful, but it's not always easy. There's going to be resistance. He actually compares this process to crossing a river. He says as soon as you decide to make a change, to step into the unknown, your body will start sending signals of fear and doubt back to the brain.
It's like that little voice inside saying, stay where it's safe, even if it's not making you happy.
Exactly. But he emphasizes that resistance, it's natural. It's your old self clinging to what it knows.
Okay, so how do we quiet that voice? How do we keep moving forward?
Well, that's where meditation comes in. Dispenza sees meditation as a key tool for becoming more familiar with our thoughts and emotions, for learning to observe them without judgment.
He has this great line, you are not the program, you are the consciousness observing the program. It's like a reminder that you're not your thoughts. You have the power to choose which ones you want to empower.
Exactly. And he suggests that as you practice this awareness, you start to gain mastery over your internal world. You become less reactive, more intentional, more empowered to create the life you desire.
It's a process of rewiring our brains, replacing those old limiting patterns with new expansive ones. But it sounds like it takes consistent effort, regular practice.
It does, but he emphasizes that it's available to everyone. We all have the capacity to become conscious creators.
That's really encouraging to hear. So this is just the tip of the iceberg.
We've only just begun to scratch the surface. There's so much more to explore.
Well, I'm definitely ready to dive deeper. This is fascinating stuff.
Let's do it. So, ready to dive into collapsing time?
All right, let's do it. I'm fascinated, but definitely a little intimidated.
It can be a mind bender, but we'll break it down. It starts with understanding how we experience time.
Okay, and how's that?
Well, we usually think of it as a line, right? Past, present, future.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But Dispenza says that might just be a construct of our minds. Like, what if time is actually way more fluid than we think?
That's interesting.
Remember the quantum field we talk about?
Yeah, that invisible energy field with infinite possibilities.
Right. Well, Dispenza believes the quantum field exists outside of our normal perception of time.
Oh, wow. So you're saying there's this whole realm of possibilities not bound by, like, clocks and calendars?
Exactly. And he thinks when we shift our consciousness, tap into a deeper awareness, we can access these possibilities. We can actually draw them into our reality.
Okay, so then collapsing time, it's about breaking down the barriers between now and those infinite possibilities that exist outside of time.
That's a great way to put it. It's like bridging the gap between what we think is possible and what could be possible if we could tap into this deeper awareness.
All right, I'm with you so far. But how do we actually do that? How do we access these infinite possibilities?
That's where Dispenza's work gets really interesting. He combines the quantum field with neuroscience and, like, the power of the mind to create reality.
So it's more than just visualizing a better future, right? We're talking about tapping into something much deeper.
Exactly. And he thinks one key is, you guessed it, meditation.
Okay, but I thought meditation was just for relaxing, maybe reducing stress.
It's definitely great for that.
Yeah.
But Dispenza sees it as a way to train your mind, to go beyond your ego, to access a state where you're not limited by time and space.
So it's not about emptying your mind. It's about, what, going deeper?
Yeah, he describes it as becoming familiar with your thoughts and emotions. You just observe them, no judgment.
Interesting.
Remember that line, you are not the program, you are the consciousness observing the program.
Yeah, that one really stuck with me.
So we're not our thoughts, so we can step back and just witness them.
So in that state of observing, what happens?
Well, he says we shift our brain waves, for those busy beta waves when we're awake, to slower alpha and theta waves.
Like when we're relaxed and creative.
Exactly. And in this state, we're more open to receiving information from the quantum field.
So we're tuning our minds to a different frequency that can connect with these infinite possibilities.
You got it. And when we align with that field of potential, Dispenza believes we can literally collapse time and draw experiences to us that might have seemed impossible.
Okay, this is blowing my mind a little bit. Are there, like, examples of people actually doing this, collapsing time and getting what they want?
Oh, absolutely. He has so many stories of people who've used these principles to create incredible changes in their lives.
Like what? Give me an example.
People healing from chronic illnesses, finding their dream jobs, or even, like, meeting their soulmates.
Oh, but if it's that easy, why isn't everyone doing it?
He's very clear. It's not about forcing things to happen or trying to control the outcome. It's about creating the right conditions internally so those things can naturally emerge.
So I can't just, like, wish for $1 million and expect it to appear.
Hee. Not quite. It's about surrendering to the flow of life, trusting that there's a bigger plan.
That's kind of hard to wrap my head around. It sounds almost too good to be true. Like, how do we know this isn't just wishful thinking?
That's a fair question. Dispenza acknowledges that these concepts can be really hard to grasp, especially if you're coming from a very scientific or logical viewpoint.
Yeah, I definitely tend to lean on logic.
But he asks us to be open to the possibility that there's more to reality than we currently understand. Remember, science is always evolving.
True. Okay, I'm willing to keep an open mind, but I still have so many questions. Like, if our thoughts and emotions are so powerful, why is there so much suffering in the world?
That's a great question, and it gets right to the core of Dispenza's work. He says a lot of the suffering we experience comes from our attachment to the past, our fear of the future, and our inability to just be present.
So we're creating the reality we're trying to escape from.
In a way, yes. When we dwell on the past, we reinforce those old patterns and limitations. Worrying about the future creates anxiety and stress in the present, and all that distracts us from the joy of this moment.
It's like we're trapped in a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And breaking out of it, he says, is all about those practices we've been talking about. Meditation, visualization, gratitude, connecting with your heart.
So it's about being more mindful of our thoughts and emotions, choosing to focus on what we want to create, not what we fear.
Exactly. It's about becoming the creators of our lives, not just reacting to whatever comes our way.
This is all so fascinating, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. There's so much to learn and practice.
I hear you. It can be a lot. But remember, it's a journey, not a race. You don't have to get it all at once.
So I don't need to become a meditation master overnight?
No way. He says consistency is key. Even a few minutes of meditation each day can start making a difference.
That's a relief. But I still have more questions. Like, why does it feel so hard to change? If we have all this power within us, why do we get stuck in those negative patterns?
That's a great question, and it brings us to the role of the body in all of this. Dispenza suggests our bodies are actually stuck in the past.
Wait, what do you mean? How can our bodies be stuck in the past?
Remember how strong emotions can create lasting memories?
Yeah, like a vivid memory of a happy day or a really scary experience.
Well, our bodies, they don't actually know the difference between something that really happened and an emotion we created just by thinking about it.
So if I keep replaying a painful memory in my head,
Your body reacts as if it's happening again right
Sure.
now. Increased heart rate, stress hormones, the whole thing. And that can keep us trapped in a cycle, recreating the past in our present lives.
it's like we're addicted to those familiar feelings, even the negative ones. He talked about how we can become addicted to the hormones of stress.
Exactly. When we're stressed, our brains release all those chemicals, adrenaline and stuff, that create a sense of arousal. For some people, they crave that feeling, even if it comes from drama or negativity.
It's like we need the bad job, the difficult relationship, the stressful situation just to feel something, to confirm our identity. That's kind of a disturbing thought.
It is, but it highlights the importance of becoming aware of those patterns and then consciously creating different emotions that match the future you want.
So don't wait for something outside to change how you feel. Choose to feel gratitude, joy, love right now, even before your circumstances change.
Exactly. Dispenza calls this causing an effect instead of waiting for cause and effect. It's about shifting from reacting to creating.
It reminds me of how he talked about our thoughts and feelings broadcasting an electromagnetic signal that influences the quantum field, like we're attracting experiences that match our inner state.
And he uses this powerful metaphor. When we're focused on lack or suffering or negativity, it's like we're saying to the universe, bring me more of that.
Oof, that's a good reminder to be mindful of what we're putting out there.
And it comes back to the power of the present moment. The quantum field, that field of infinite possibilities, exists in the now.
So if we're always stuck in the past or worried about the future, we miss out on the creative power of right now.
Exactly. Dispenza says when we truly become present, when we drop those labels of somebody, somewhere, sometime, we can align with pure consciousness and open ourselves up to something completely new.
He describes it as moving from the consciousness of someone to the consciousness of everyone, from something to everything, from some time to every time.
It's a huge shift in perspective. And that, he says, is where the magic really happens.
Okay, so back to meditation. How do we actually get to this generous present moment?
Well, remember, it's not about emptying your mind. It's about becoming familiar with those thoughts and emotions, observing them without judgment.
Like that line, you are not the program, you are the consciousness observing the program.
Right. We're not our thoughts, we're the awareness behind them.
So we're just witnessing those thoughts and feelings, creating space between us and them.
And as we practice, something pretty amazing happens. Dispenza has seen it in thousands of brain scans. Our brainwaves slow down, different parts of the brain start to synchronize, and we experience this incredible sense of wholeness.
So there's actual scientific evidence to support these ideas. It's not just like mystical mumbo jumbo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets even more interesting. He suggests these changes in brain activity can create a measurable magnetic field around the body. Like we shift from just taking energy from the field to actually contributing energy to it.
So we're not just transforming ourselves, we're influencing the energy of the universe.
Exactly. And this connects to heart coherence. That state of harmony in the heart.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
He talks about seeing people in deep meditation experiencing this. Tears of joy streaming down their faces as they connect with, he calls it, the loving intelligence of the unified field.
Wow, that's powerful. It makes you realize the potential that's available to us when we tap into that deeper level of awareness.
And he thinks when we reach that state of alignment, we can collapse time and attract experiences that seemed impossible before.
Like those examples you mentioned, healing illnesses, finding your soulmate.
He says those experiences often show up as surprises, like unexpected gifts from the universe.
So we have to let go of trying to control everything and trust that something bigger is at work.
It's about surrendering to the unknown, stepping outside our comfort zones and embracing what's possible.
This is a lot to process. Dispenza really paints a compelling picture of the power of the mind. But he also acknowledges that change can be tough. He talked about how our bodies, conditioned by the past, they resist change.
He compares it to crossing a river. You decide to make a different choice, step into the unknown, and your body sends signals of fear and doubt right back to your brain.
Like stay in your comfort zone even if you're miserable.
Exactly. But Dispenza says that resistance, it's natural. It's just the old you clinging to what it knows.
Well, Okay, so how do we deal with that resistance? He talked about becoming aware of those thoughts and feelings, observing them without judging.
That's the first step. He reminds us we are not our thoughts. We can choose which ones we want to empower, which ones to let go.
And as we become more conscious of those automatic patterns,
We can start to interrupt them, choose a different response. It's about taking back our power, becoming the conscious creators of our lives.
it's a journey of self-discovery, breaking free from limitations and stepping into our potential. And Dispenza, he offers us a roadmap, tools and practices to help us along the way.
And the most important tool might be the power of belief. We have to believe in a future that we haven't experienced yet.
It's about having faith in ourselves, in the power of the universe, in the possibility of creating something extraordinary.
And when we do that, when our thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned with that vision, anything becomes possible.
It's a message of hope, empowerment, and recognizing the potential that's inside each of us. And it all starts with that decision. The decision to become the conscious creators of our own reality. This is all so powerful, this idea that we can shape our reality. But I gotta say, it can be hard to put these ideas into practice. Life gets in the way.
Oh, absolutely. Dispenza talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
People get excited about a vision, they feel amazing,
Right.
then bam, life throws a curveball.
Exactly. Work deadlines, family stuff, unexpected challenges. It can feel like you're drowning.
He calls it being distracted by your external environment. Not enough time, too many social events, you get tired, stressed.
It all just pulls you back into those old patterns.
And sometimes it's like the people around you, they're stuck in the same patterns, almost like they're reinforcing that negativity.
Yeah, you get sucked right back in.
Dispenza has this great term, reaffirming their addiction to suffering. It's like we're unconsciously trying to keep each other small and stuck.
Wow. But we don't have to play that game, right? We can choose something different.
Absolutely. The key is to become greater than those external influences. Greater than your body's reactions, the emotions that keep you tied to the past, even the environment that's always dictating your thoughts and feelings.
It's like taking back control. But man, that sounds like a challenge.
It is. But remember what we talked about earlier. Our environment can literally trigger those neural networks in our brains.
So we're programmed by our surroundings.
In a way, yes, but we can choose to respond differently.
So it's about noticing those triggers and then making a conscious choice, choosing the thoughts, feelings, and actions that match the future you want.
That's exactly it. And that brings us back to disconnecting from the external world, creating that inner space of stillness, the generous present moment.
Right, where your inner world becomes more real than the outside world.
Exactly. And that's where meditation comes in. It's a key to unlocking that potential.
He says it's about becoming familiar with your thoughts and emotions, observing them without judgment.
Right. It's not about stopping the thoughts. It's about being the witness.
You are not the program. You are the consciousness observing the program.
Exactly. You step back from the mental chatter.
Right.
Become aware of the observer, that quiet space within.
And as you practice this, what happens?
Dispenza, he's seen it in brain scans. Your brain waves slow down, different parts of the brain synchronize. You experience a sense of wholeness, of integration.
So this isn't just some mystical thing. There's actual science backing it up.
Absolutely. And even more fascinating, he says these changes in brain activity create a measurable magnetic field around the body. It's like you shift from taking energy from the field to actually giving energy back to it.
Wow. So we're not just transforming ourselves, we're influencing the universe.
Exactly. And remember heart coherence, that state of harmony in the heart.
Yeah.
He talks about seeing people in deep meditation, tears of joy streaming down their faces as they connect with what he calls the loving intelligence of the unified field.
It's a beautiful image, like a glimpse of what's possible.
And when we align with that field of infinite possibilities, he says, we can collapse time. We can attract experiences that seemed impossible.
So we let go of control and trust that something bigger is at work.
It's about surrendering to the unknown, embracing what might be possible. Dispenza's message, it's really about empowerment. We have the power to change our lives, to shape our realities, to create the future we want. It all starts with one decision, the decision to become the conscious creators of our own reality.
This has been such an incredible journey. Thank you so much for sharing these insights with me and with our listeners. It's given me a whole new perspective on what's possible.
My pleasure. Remember, you have everything you need within you to make those dreams a reality.
That's an amazing reminder. Thanks again for joining us, and thank you to everyone listening. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.